Hi, this is Keith Ross Nelson, and you're watching the Breakout Show.
The Break It Down Show. Say the Break It
Break it
Down.
down. Let's do it one more time. The Break It Down Show. Unbelievable. My coffee's still kicking down, kicking in.
Yeah, man, I hear. You know what? Who cares, right? We're
It's the Break
alive.
It Down Show, folks. Break it down. If you can
That's right.
remember, say it.
Yeah, the Break
Otherwise,
It.
break me.
You know what? Here's the thing, Keith. Life ain't easy, right? And so some of this small stuff that happens like that, I mean, it's breaking, whatever. Who gives a fuck, man? We're building something incredible today. It's beautiful outside. And you know, we live in Southern California. It ain't that bad.
No.
It's pretty good.
Where do you live?
I live in Orange County. I live about 15 minutes from Disney and about
Oh,
10 minutes from the beach. So
yeah,
nice.
you can't beat that.
No, we can't be.
I mean, I'm in the ghetto. I'm in ghetto LA. I'm in Chatsworth, but it's still pretty darn nice. I mean, I grew up in Oregon, which is really nice, but you can't beat the weather down here.
Yeah. And look, Chatsworth may not be the ideal place. It ain't bad though. It's not Detroit, you know?
Dude, it's crazy. This house was built in 51. It's an old house. It's a
Yeah.
pretty big lot, but I bought it in 15 for 560 in Oregon. It would cost me probably 275.
Yeah.
And it's now 1.1 right now. It's
Yeah.
insane.
My situation is similar. My special someone bought her house 20 years ago. And
Oh
so
yeah. So now it's crazy.
yeah. And we
Yeah.
have
Yeah. 20 years ago, she bought it for like 200,000 and now it's worth 3 million.
yeah. I mean,
Right.
it's very similar situation to you. The house is older, you know, and big lot in our yard. There is. This sounds opulent, but it's very, very normal for where we are. We have a slab of cement that is like volleyball court sized, that
Right.
has a hoop on it and everything. We have my tent. This tent is 16 feet across in diameter. Diameter is that way. So it's a circle. So 16 and a half feet across. Also in this yard is a shed that's 10 by 8, right? Like a full bedroom
Right.
size.
Right.
And then way over yonder is a 23-foot trailer, like a Bull's Arrow, which is like like a Airstream, but a different style.
Right.
All of that stuff is in the backyard, and the backyard
Wow.
is still huge.
So with your significant other, you went from being in the house to kick to the trailer to now you're in a tent. You may be on your last leg.
Trailer, house, and working outside. So she's like, "Hey, listen, you're loud, you're big, and you're annoying, and it's COVID, so everybody's in the house. We got 2 people going to school. We're both running businesses,
Right.
and the house is this house is very modest. It's 1,400 square feet, right, which is plenty for us, but it's a lot for running businesses and going to school out of.
So who goes to school? You or your wife
The
or your
young
kid?
her kids are college age,
Oh,
so
okay. And where do they go to college at?
Fullerton, and one of them goes to OCC, which is the
Okay.
local
Yeah.
community college.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
Which again, these schools down here are ridiculous. I don't know why anybody would pay money to go to a private school for 4 years when you
Not in
can.
Orange County, man. Go to the JC. My daughter
Oh,
went to LA Valley for
yeah,
3 years and then went to Berkeley.
yeah, yeah, and
And
they'll walk you right into Berkeley. They're like, "Well, come on in."
yeah,
Incredible.
I don't know. It was really crazy because she only had a 3.7 at junior college. So she goes in to meet with her counselor. And the counselor goes, "So what's your dream gig?" And she said, "Berkeley." And the counselor looks at her and goes, "Yes, Sabrina, but is that realistic?"
Hmm.
So my kid said to me, I didn't say anything, but in my head I thought, we'll see, right?
Yeah,
Well, in UC systems, you have to write a letter why they should let you in. And she's got a pretty crazy story. So um, the end of April, is when they send that stuff out. So she applied to 6 UC systems like UCLA, Irvine, UC San Diego, Santa Barbara, and what was the other one? Santa Cruz, I think.
hmm
So the end of April, sure enough, 5 things come back, everything but Berkeley. So, and UCLA's ranked third behind Berkeley. I think Berkeley's second. And then I can't remember if it's Stanford or Harvard is ranked first. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Stanford is ranked first and Berkeley is second and UCLA's third, public schools. Anyway, um, so I'm like going, you got into UCLA. It's like only a click below Berkeley. Don't worry about it. And she's just like, but her thing, is she wanted to get it. So 2 weeks later, she gets the letter. And so anyway.
Yeah, it is
So
incredible. It's such a viable path. Again, like, if you're a parent, you're like, how's my kid going to go to school, go to community college? And at least here in California, you say, I want to go to Berkeley. And here's what Berkeley wants. Here's what all the UCs want. They want a reliable student that's going to graduate. And if you go through 4 years to get yourself through community college, they're like, this is an easy thing. You're going to be here for 6 quarters or, 4 semesters, whatever it's going to be. And you're going to be out the door. Hell yeah, that's good for our rates. That's good for our performance.
That's right.
And so they literally here is the path. Take these classes, get decent grades, and then bam, you're there, and it's
well, it's not only that. It's like, okay, especially money wise, why would you spend a shitload of money?
Yeah.
You're going to take all your what do they call it? The classes you had.
Yeah, the lower division, all of that.
All these classes are classes you took in high school. You're taking them over. So it's all about socialization. So if you're in a conversation with somebody, you can at least pretend you know something about chemistry or history or whatever wasn't your major.
Yeah.
If you can go over to junior college and spend, $60 a unit or whatever it is to just take those, and then you go to Berkeley or wherever, Fullerton, and you get your degree. It doesn't say degree 2 years. It doesn't say degree 4 years. It says degree University of California, Berkeley, Fullerton University. So nobody knows that you went to JC, or nobody knows that you went 4 years. They just know you got a degree from Berkeley, and that's a pretty good degree, or Fullerton or whatever.
And I'd just say this too: if I was in the position to hire someone and I had stacks of college age people, and one of them left Orange County to go to some other state's state school, I would put that person below the person that took the junior college, community college path and got a degree in state. Like, why would you waste anybody's money to go to somebody else's state school?
Right.
Especially given that, look, the California state school system is the best one in the world. Berkeley, Davis, UCLA. These are some of the best schools.
Dude, those are all
public-wise.
I count. There's actually about, well, it doesn't matter. But to your point, if a person went to junior college and then went to, Fullerton or Berkeley, they grinded it out.
Yeah.
They found, it's like, part of life is finding a way to get things done. And it's not a straight path from A to Z. Sometimes you go off the beaten path. That's going off the beaten path to get to Z.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to get there one way or the other. Okay, I had to wash dishes and go to junior college. Fine. I'll do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And also maybe you didn't know what you wanted to do and you didn't want to blow your parents' money on trying to. I always tell, whenever I advise kids, I go back every year to my high school, fall and spring semester. I talk to seniors, because they're only told what their parents and what their peers say. And I'm like, don't worry about all of that. Go where the A's are. Get your degree where you're like, I showed up in drama and got an A today, and then go to drama 2, go to drama 3. And next thing you know, you've got 3 A's. Maybe drama isn't for you, but maybe it's English major. And then you end up over there, but you can use that first 2 years to explore and figure out you can't possibly know reliably what you want to do for the rest of your life when you're 17 or 18 years old. Oh, no, you know what I love? I love the Northeast. I love the 4 seasons. Dude, you're from California. We have 20 seasons, and most of them are called perfect.
Yeah, I agree. And there's another thing to that. God, what was I going to say to your point? About going to junior college and then going to college. I'll think of it in a minute. It doesn't matter. Again, coffee kicking in.
Yeah, coffee. Yeah, well, I went on a walk. I walked around my neighborhood. I already had my coffee, so
yeah,
I'm all gathered up.
Yeah, I got up and did kung fu. I did all the litter boxes. It's always something.
I got you. Well, let me do this because I know folks are watching, and I want to make sure I say these words out loud. Well, number one, Steve Joyner hooked us up, and I dig that dude. He's awesome. Thanks, Steve. If you guys ever need help on a podcast, look up Steve Joyner on Facebook. He's a reliable guy that will get you in front of people that you like.
Yes, he is.
Two, we were going to do, and because of COVID, we're not, but we were going to do a comedy show next week for Save the Brave. And I want to talk to everybody, including the audience, about Save the Brave. So, okay, look, we do a comedy show in Temecula every third Thursday, give or take. Every once a month, we do one, right? And we'll get Keith out there as soon as we're all clear on COVID and everything. But the other thing that we're about to do, and I'm promoting this because it's important, is part of what Save the Brave does. We work to get us veterans to stop killing ourselves. And then when the inevitable does happen, how do we pick that family up and get them back on their feet because their loved one is no longer there? There's a lot of damage. How do we help those guys? Those are some of the things that we do. One of the ways we funded this is by getting Scott Husing on his motorcycle, and he rides across the country. I get behind him in my truck and I make sure he's all right. And we go out and we raise money. And here's what happens when you get on the road. People like show up and they're like, oh my God, I can't believe you're here. We're also desperate to solve this problem. My brother, veteran, took his own life in October, right? So here I am working in this charity.
Wait. Hold on. This last October?
Yes.
Oh man, I'm so sorry.
Well, and the thing that's ironical is I'm in the same boat where I have this suicidal ideation. I work hard at it and I've been able to get on top of it, right? My brother wasn't. And my brother was tough as hell. So it's not like a thing of people often think it's quitting or everything. Like, no, this guy was, look, if he had cancer and lost his battle with cancer, we wouldn't look down on that. And it's the same thing with depression. We're getting better at this. And one of the things that we do at Save the Brave is like, we build community around these people. You don't wait. There's a thing that I got to say this. You don't say to the person who's in trouble, hey, at the end of your rope, the last thing you do before you do anything else, make sure you call me, because that's bullshit. Like, you got to help that person now.
Right.
Help them before they get into trouble, before they get into
you can't wait till the car's totaled.
Right. Be like, hey, make sure before you drown, you give one shout so I know, and maybe I'll save you then. They're like, fuck that, save them right now. Go and get involved in people's lives. Get involved with Save the Brave. If we're not your kind of charity, great. Don't do that. Go do what you do. That's great. Don't start a new charity. Go find one that does what you like and empower that with your effort. But if you're into Save the Brave, you can go to savethebrave.org. And you can contribute there, or you can just hit me at Pete@breakitdownstraight.com. Pete, I want to contribute. I want to help with the ride. I want to come on the ride. What can I do? Can I introduce anybody? We're going from Temecula, Tucson, El Paso, Odessa, Dallas, Houston, New Orleans, Birmingham, Atlanta, Charleston. If any of that sounds close to you at all, and by close, I mean within 6 hours, get out there and support us. And we will throw a party. We will have a great time. The hardest working charity you're ever going to see. We're not there to get money. We're there to help save lives. We're there to help repair families that have had tragedy. Get involved if we're your thing. So that's my pitch. Keith, I was talking a lot there for a minute, but I had to get that in.
No, it's good. My brother was 20 years in the Army. My dad did World War II, and we didn't find out till he was 84. That he had PTSD.
Yeah.
We just thought his temper was because he was Italian, But yeah, I mean, and this guy was on the this is kind of crazy. He was on the Houston, which is not quite as famous as the Indianapolis, but everybody knows what the Indianapolis is from the Jaws movie when Robert Shaw talks about the ship going down, the sharks coming. Well, my dad was on the Houston, which was also sunk. And he spent 3 days in the water, and he saw guys get eaten by sharks. And they wanted to take I think it's his left leg, because it had gangrene, and he wouldn't let him take his leg, so they ended up saving the leg. But I mean, to this day, he wouldn't get in he won't take a bath, and I've never seen him get in a lake or an ocean. He just takes showers. That's it.
Right. Yeah.
So. I mean, again, he's gotten a lot better since what's that?
Is your dad still with us?
No, he passed in 17
at
97.
Right.
So, but he, once he got on some meds for the PTSD, he was like a different person. So yeah, treatment, treatment is everything, man.
It's funny that you bring up the Indy and the Houston today, because today is Harold Bray's birthday. And Harold Bray is from my hometown, Benicia. And Harold Bray is one of the last survivors of the Indy that's still with us. He turned 95 today. So let's put a little happy birthday out there to Harold, Big Daddy. And I'm going to throw his link up for his episode. If you guys want to hear what it was about for reals from the guys who were there, there's Harold Bray right there. And anything support.
Crazy, man.
Yeah, the USS Houston and the USS Indy. These are tragedies. Now, are you at all connected to the Houston community?
No, not really.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny you should say that because my next ship I'm getting on, I fly to Houston, then they drive me to Galveston. I get on a ship, and that's actually the ship that likes me best. So, I mean, I've done it already 3 times this year.
Nice.
So
Well,
there's my connection. There's my connection to Houston.
yeah, yeah. Well, I imagine they have some kind of veteran group, and
Yeah.
if anybody is left, and that can't be many. I think Harold. It's like Harold and 2, maybe 3 dudes, and that's it.
Right.
These World War II guys, and then Korea's up next.
Yeah.
So you were going to do the Save the Brave thing with us. Obviously, you've got a family connection to the veteran thing.
Yeah.
But it does mean
And my wife, by the way, she's 2 things she sponsored. Obviously, animals because we got all these cats.
Yeah.
But her other big one is Wounded Warrior. So we give money to that every month.
All right. Well, I'm going to work on you and get you guys to divert that money over to Save the Brave. Wounded Warrior's got a lot of support. So,
Absolutely.
we do well, but we're competing for dollars, and those guys are great at what they do. We're going to be coming after them though, because we all got to figure this veteran thing out together. The comedy show idea thing. I mean, I appreciate you. Look, it didn't work out because of things out of our control, but I appreciate you stepping up and wanting to do that.
Oh yeah.
How much comedy charity do you do?
Yeah, I do, like when I can fit it in, I try to do probably 2 or 3 a year.
Yeah.
People, my favorite is of course anything to do with pets.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
But the military too, since I've got a couple in my family. So yeah, I would say those are the 2. And that my wife loves that stuff too. So it's like, it's a win-win. Anytime you can do something that helps people and your wife likes it too, that's a good thing.
Hey, so I got to ask.
I don't want to end up out in the tent.
That's right. You've been at comedy for a long time, and so I want to ask, because in your industry, self-destruction is a very common thing, right?
Yeah.
You have a relationship, you have a house. These things aren't norms for a lot of comedians.
No.
What is it about your guys' industry that makes you so wonderful when you're on stage, but then and this is not all of you guys, right? But so awful when you're off of it.
Oh boy, me and a friend of mine, Joel Madison. He's written for Roseanne, Fresh Prince, and God, what was the other show? It was a show with Eddie Griffin. Can't remember. It's on the UW or whatever that channel is. Yeah. Anyway, at one point we were talking about this, and he said, he says most comedians are not really nice people, but it's not about so much being nice people. It's about being growing up in toxicity. Mm-hmm. And some people, comedy just kind of ends up being a vehicle for purging some of that toxicity, I think. And I think the real problem is, and this doesn't just go for comedians, but it goes for anybody.
Yeah.
That saying, insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result.
Yeah.
My wife now, I've been married, it'll be 15 years in August. And it's crazy because I dated or married one. I went through a divorce in 95 after 11 years with a woman who's now on her 4th marriage, and extremely toxic. And I was toxic because I had anger issues. So you put toxic with toxic, and it's like putting fire with oil or gasoline. You're gonna get an explosion. But the problem is toxic is attracted to toxic. And you have to get to a point. I got lucky. I finally had a woman that she took me so far down the rabbit hole that I go, I can't do this anymore. I got to make a change. Now, for me, the change was, it was kind of weird. I took a piece of paper I kind of figured this out on my own. I took a piece of paper and I drew a line down the middle of the paper. And on the right side, I wrote 7 things I won't put up with. And then on the left, I go, these are 7 things I want in a woman, you know. Because, you know, guys being guys, the first thing is you look at the woman and you go, oh, okay, she's hot, or, you know, it's something stupid, you know, she's really good looking. But, you know, that's not necessarily a good recipe for a marriage. You know, there's so many other pieces of that puzzle that go into like making it fit. So I said, okay, so I had this list. And then the rule was, no matter how attracted I am to this next person or how good looking they are, if they break one of these rules on the right, they're done. So the next girl I met, she did something. I go, if you do that again, we're done. She did it again, broke up with her. Guess who the next person I met was? Bam, my wife.
Yeah.
But I was self-aware enough to make some self-corrections. And here's what's really interesting. My wife tends to be, you know, slightly anxious, and I've got anger issues, but she's extremely, and then here's the other thing. Yeah. She's from the Philippines, but she comes from an intact house. Her mom and dad were married till the day her dad died. So that's really important. You know, you want to pick out some, and I always tell my buddies that are younger than me, there's women you sleep with and women you marry. Don't mix the two. You can't marry a woman that's just a sleep woman. And I'm not trying to say you should be out there sleeping with women or degrading women. I'm just saying, again, the recipe for a good marriage is so much more than the sexual aspect.
Yeah.
I always tell my buddies, okay, let's say you're totally attracted to your wife. Let's say, for instance, you're going to have sex with her every single day the rest of your life till you're 90 or whatever, which nobody does that. But let's just say you could. And you have sex for 45 minutes and you sleep for 8 hours. Well, guess what? That's 8 hours and 45 minutes. You still have another, 15 hours and 15 minutes a day that you got to live with her. Yeah. So how much do you think that other 15 hours and 15 minutes, those other attributes that a person you know, has, how much more important are those attributes than that 45 minutes?
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, man, this woman, after I married her, everything changed. And, you know, here's another thing. People always say the most important thing you do in life is what you choose to do for a career or living. But I would argue the most important thing you do is who you choose as your partner, because that person's going to have more effect over you than your job, because that person's you know, supposed to have your back and be there all the time.
Yeah.
So choose wisely.
Choose wisely. And there's no good community college path version of picking the wrong.
Oh man. Oh, and then here's another one. Here's another one. This is another one you'll appreciate, especially. Okay. I tell all my buddies, I go, I don't care how much you like her, I don't care how great she is, and vice versa. I don't care how good he seems, women. 6-month rule. Do not give your heart over for at least 6 months, because I found that what happens is, you know how you go out on a first date and everybody, you know, everybody has their guard up and everybody's super nice and super polite, because of course you want to make a good impression. And then the normality is, you know, by the 4th date, you're starting to let that guard down so people can see what you're about and what you're like. But here's the thing. When you're dealing with toxic people and stuff, or sociopaths, they can keep the guard up a lot longer. So, you know, but no matter how good they are at it, you'll start to see the cracks after 6 months. Like for guys, once they've gone through 2 biorhythm cycles, which is 3 months long, once women have gone through a couple periods, you'll start to see the little cracks, and then you go, whoa, wait a minute, this is not good. But if you don't pay attention and leave your guard up for a while, what happens is you let the guard down, you give them their heart, then you start making excuses for all that shitty behavior because they already got their hooks into you. See, that's what happens. And now it's too late because the fish is on the hook. They're already pulling you out of the water. You're in the boat. It's too late now. Now they're just going to suck the oxygen out of you.
Yeah. Right. No, totally. Some of this stuff fuels the comedy, though, right? So I'm not saying that you torture yourself, but like, so a good friend of mine is Jay Moore, and we're like the kind of friends where we can get together and we don't have to, like, I don't need anything from him. He doesn't need anything from me. We just hang out. Maybe we watch TV, go get a bite to eat or something like that. And we crack jokes about just things that are funny to us. And neither of us is performing. We're just being dudes.
Yeah.
And he takes a lot of the things that happen between him and Nikki, his last wife, or him and his son, and he turns that stuff into this
right
that he has. And it's really, you need experiences in life. You just don't need to ruin your life to get
right. Right. And it's a fine line, man.
Yeah.
If it starts bleeding over into you, then it's gonna be a problem, because there's, show business is 2 words. And everybody thinks, well, that time you do on stage, that's just the show part. But as soon as you walk off stage, that's the business part. So if you're a train wreck off stage, it doesn't matter how much you kill. They can get so many guys that can kill, but if you're screwing up the business side because you're not a nice person or you got issues you haven't fixed, it's going to hurt you.
Yeah. No doubt. The hurting part, again, comedians good at hurting themselves and the ones that they love, it's easy. Like, I get it, because you get done working, you're on this high, you get off stage, you're doing what you're supposed to do, and now you're in a bar with people that have had a great time and that are absolutely in love with you. And boy, it's easy to start making some bad decisions for tomorrow right in that point.
Well, that is really a good point, because I have gotten any trouble I've gotten into has almost always been after I walked off stage. I'm not doing anything bad, just saying the wrong thing, because you're in that heightened sense where everything's free flowing. And it's like, I remember Paul Dudridge, who used to be Ricky Gervais's agent in England. He told me something. This is like in 2011. And thank God he came along at that time, because I'd been married to my wife by then for 4 years, and I'd started doing Kung Fu, and those things all changed my life. But he said a couple things to me. He goes, all that matters is what you say between action and cut, and good evening and good night. The rest of the time, keep your fucking mouth shut. And then his other thing he told me, and this one changed my life: reward good behavior, ignore bad.
Yeah.
And the reward good behavior is really easy, but that second part, ignore bad.
Yeah.
Man, if you can learn that one, just to let it go, let that person be an idiot, don't get involved.
Yeah.
And I've gotten pretty good at it. And then, of course, my wife, she was in politics in the Philippines before she came here. She was the youngest vice governor in the history of the Philippines at 23. And then she was the head writer. I think his name's Roma. It was the guy that was president right before Aquino in early 90s. So she was the head writer in the Senate and the writer for the president's speeches. And she's like, and that's a country that has the highest assassination rate of politicians. So she was a woman, and somehow she lasted 13 years in the Philippines and without getting shot. So if you want to take advice from somebody on how to behave and how to navigate stuff, she's an expert on it. So she's taught me a lot. And those things, that thing from Dudridge, Kung Fu, and her, boy.
Mm-hmm. One of the things, so again, Jay's a friend of mine, and so whenever I can, I try to get him into the room. He's played the Save the Brave room. It was awesome. But part of his recovery is Irish goodbyes, walk off the stage, good night, everybody, poof, right out the door. Because you can't bear to be there. And then I don't mind like picking up the pieces like, hey man, he's in recovery. He can't be here. He can't be now. This is, instead of a place to work, this is now a bar, and he needs to get the hell away from it.
Right.
And then everybody's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like, they're desperate to talk to him, but they also, no one wants to fucking
He's following the rules to a T. That's brilliant.
Yeah, right out the back door. Like, Jay's not going to be talking to you guys. Sorry, he's already left. I don't have to even know that he left to know that he left.
Yeah. Very good, man.
Hey, I want to bring up, by the way, everybody should be subscribing to the Break It Down show. What are you waiting for? Just subscribe. That's right. Go on YouTube and press the subscribe button. Okay, I've said that. You are a badass, man. So first off, obviously the kung fu and the physicality that you bring, and look, you're not 25 years old, so you know that there's costs to doing things like breaking high jump records and all these things that you do. How are you an athlete that's a comedian, or are you a comedian that does athletics?
I'm just a person that does different things and tries to do them well.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
Are you still high jumping at all, or
No.
Oh,
When I jumped till I was 52, and then I started doing kung fu, and I had some. I put on weight because when I got married to my wife, she was always saying, "You got to put on weight." Because I was like, when I married her, I was like 6'4", 180, because I was always high jumping. So I and then she just said, "You need to put some weight on your face and stuff." So when I put the weight on, I just said, that's enough of that. So I still do the same.
Jumping at 52, because I mean that's remarkable.
52, I went. Let's see, what did I do at 52? I think I went 6 feet, which was. Let's see, at 51, I won indoors nationals, and I went 6 feet, I think, in Boston.
Yeah.
45, I went 6'6", and that was the record. That was 2000, and I held the record till 2007. And that age group, because it's in Masters, it's 4-year age groups. So 45 to 49, I had that record. But then in 2010, I started doing kung fu, and then I've been doing it ever since. And that was pretty crazy, because my goal when I got in there, I said, God, if I can just somehow get to black belt, that would be like, I never dreamt I would get where I'm at now, which is 3rd degree. But, you just sometimes in life, if you keep showing up, putting in the time, good things happen. So that's where we're at right now.
When you look at your skill in kung fu, obviously there's an age and physicality thing, right? Like if you get injured, it's just going to take longer. The next time you snap your biceps tendon might be the last time you're able to repair it. There's sacrifices to this, but there's also the rest of the kung fu, the martial art attitude, and what you can always go lower in amplitude, right? Like you're not getting these street fights.
Well, that's funny. It's funny you should say that, because you go in there and you go, oh, this is cool. I'm going to learn how to fight. I'm going to be so. And then the first thing you learn, first thing they said, first day I was in class, somebody tries to start a fight, run, go the other way. And I go, that's a weird thing to say. But, people forget it's self-defense. If you didn't get in a fight, then nobody got hurt.
Yeah.
And then here's another thing. Once you turn 18, okay, and a lot of people don't realize this. When a cop arrests you and you get in a fight, they're going to charge you with felony assault. Okay? It doesn't mean it was felony assault, but they want the best possible caller.
Yeah.
Okay? So that's the first hint about getting in a fight. If you get in a fight, there's video everywhere. If one person knows you in that bar and they open their mouth, the cops are going to come to your house. They're going to arrest you. Okay, this is the best case scenario. When they charge you with a felony assault, that's $3,000 to bail out. And that's just if you don't have a record. Okay, then do you want a public defender? What if he's got a stack that high?
Oh, he does. He always does.
Okay. And he doesn't do a good job of handling your case, and now you get stuck with a felony assault charge. Okay, it was your first charge, so maybe they don't send you to jail. They give you community service, or they let you just be on probation. You now have a felony on your record.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first thing I say is, if you're going to get in a fight, make sure you got $4 or $5 grand in the bank, $3,000 to bail out, and $1,000 for your first appearance with a lawyer, because the best case scenario is the charge gets dismissed because you've never been in trouble, or it's pushed down to a misdemeanor, which is not a big deal, and you can get it expunged from your record.
Yeah.
But guess what? It still cost you $4 grand.
Yeah.
All because you couldn't figure out a way to stay out of a fight with some idiot.
Yeah. And let me just say this too, to go right on top of that. If I'm a DA and I see video of you and you've taken a proper fighting stance and do a triangle step, and I'm talking about, this is white belt stuff. I'm like, this guy knows how to fight. And then I look in your record and I see, oh, he's been arrested for fighting before. Now all of a sudden this becomes an aggravated felony because you know better. Like you're not supposed to do this. Then I look and see where you go to. You guys got trains all the time. He could have
It's funny you
separated.
say that because, the first thing you're supposed to do is turn sideways, makes yourself look thin, and you have your hands like this. Never have our hands. We're taught in class, your hands are always like this.
Yes.
Hey, I don't want a problem here.
Yeah.
Because this looks like you really don't want to fight.
Right.
This looks like you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So, and then a friend of mine told me, this is an interesting thing. If you take them to the ground, you're less likely to get charged with something. Because then you say, look, I just wanted to take him down and get it over with. The more you strike him, the more your problem. And then here's another thing people don't think about.
Yeah.
This was the most important lesson, I think. The more you learn, the less you want to get in the fight. Yeah. And here's why. Because first of all, what you just said, but second of all, at our school, we now have 5 or 4 masters, and then we've got our premier grandmaster. He's like a 12th degree, and we've got a grandmaster that's an 8th degree. All of those guys, not all of them, but 4 of them are not big guys. They're all around 150 pounds, maybe 5'8", 5'9", and they look very benign.
Yeah.
So now one guy, we do have a guy that is 270, and he's a big guy. And if he hits you, it's lights out. But even those guys, they're so fast. And it's like, you're going to think. So that taught me respect everybody, because the most important thing I ever learned in Kung Fu was you never know. You never know what you're dealing with. Yeah. Respect everybody. If your instinct is this is going to be bad in 10 more seconds, leave. Because if I'm not there, there's not a fight. And that actually happened. That's happened 3 times in the last 2 years where I was in a bar or something. And I go, man, this is not looking good.
Yeah.
I'm finishing my beer because I always have 1 beer a night when I'm out on the road, and then at home I never drink. But this really has a bad vibe to it. Sure enough, I get up the next day, they're going, dude, you missed it. Da, da, da. No, I didn't miss anything. I knew it was coming. And there's no way I was going to be there.
Yeah.
So my thing now is, the only thing that's going to get me in a fight is if you strike a woman, a child, or an animal in front of me, then I don't care. Fuck it. I'll spend the $4,000, and I'll take the chance that maybe you know something. Because I'm guessing if you're a 3rd degree, you're not going to be hitting a woman or a kid or an animal anyway, unless you were just trained at a really shitty dojo.
Yeah.
But I'm not getting in a fight with a guy flipping me off on road rage and that kind of shit. I'm just, you're right, wave. I have too many good things in life to get out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to this point, one more thing. So the closest I've ever come to getting in a fight since taking Kung Fu was right before COVID. I was driving through the valley, and a guy cut me off and then kind of flipped me off. And I'm like, what was that about? So I come up to the light, and I just, do one of this. And then I'm in my SUV, and he was in a lowrider car. So I kind of looked down at him. And then the first thing I did is I looked at him, and his arms were bigger, but he had shorter arms. So the light turned green, and I just stayed and let him go. So there was a 7-Eleven there. I wanted a coffee. I go to get the 7-Eleven. I come out, the guy's standing there. I'm going, you got to be kidding me. So he pulled a knife on me.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, okay. I kind of stepped back, and that had happened before Kung Fu, I would have shit my pants. But I'm like, okay, he's not going to hit me with a left. He's not going to kick me. He's going to try to stab me. And I had long pants on. So I go, okay, every time he reaches out, he's getting kicked. Because now he's going to have to make a decision, drop the knife to grab my leg.
Yeah. So
I just stood there, and I just looked at him. I go, okay, dude, whatever. And then he looked at me for a minute. He got this weird look on his face. He goes, fuck you, Punta, and walked away.
Yeah. He got smart real fast.
but here's the mistake I made. So I'm telling the grandmaster the next day about this. And he goes, never, ever get out of your car. Right? So fast forward to about 3 months ago. I'm coming home from Kung Fu late at night. This guy comes up. I don't know what happened. He thinks he gets out of the car, and he comes up to my car, and he's screaming at me. get the fuck out of the car, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay. So I drive off. He starts chasing me. Well, I'm 4 blocks from my house. So I go,
Yeah.
I can't go to my house. I can't let this guy know where I live.
Yeah.
So I go, I can't get out of the car. What am I going to do? So I go, drive to the police station. So there's a police station about 10 blocks away. I drove to the police station. Guy looks at me and just took off. That was the end of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So no fight, no problem, done.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so a long time ago, we had Tony the Tiger Lopez on our show, and this guy's a world champion fighter, twice won Fight of the Year. And, but when you've been a fighter, it's always in you. You may not fight anymore, but like, you know how to do it. And he looks like an abuelito. Like, he's like, oh, that's someone's Mexican grandpa. Right. But then if you take a look, and this, like when you've worked your body hard for your whole life to do a certain thing, it adapts. And so like when I shook Tito Ortiz's hand, he's been on the show, his hand is made out of muscle. Yeah, there's bones in there, but his hand is just heavy. And
it's like a rock.
Yeah, he doesn't have to flex it to make it stiff. It just is. And it's got a weight to it. And you look at Tony the Tiger's hands, and it's got like these little petite wrists, and then his hands go out from there because all the muscles are developed. His hand is just bigger. And so I said, hey man, do you ever like you ever get saucy? Do you ever like think, he's like, yeah, actually recently the other day, this has been a while now. He's like, a while back, I was in a bar and this guy was getting kind of lippy with me and he was like wanting to try to start a fight with me, and if you didn't know Tony the Tiger Lopez was a fighter, a world champion a couple of times, you would never know because he just looks like somebody's grandpa. And he told the guy, he's like, I wouldn't find a fight with me. I'm pretty fast, And if you hit Tony the Tiger Lopez in the face, pretty good chance he looks at you and be like, not hard enough, because that guy can take a punch,
He can take a punch.
Yeah. So like someone like you, who's sure you caught out of your car and everything else, and the guy's got a knife. I mean, you could literally cock that front kick up with your knee and be like, my leg is longer than your arm. I'm glad to feed this thing into your chest, your face, your hand, whatever it is.
Yeah. And here's the thing, though. Of course, I'm not going to even say anything to that guy. He's not going to know. That's what I'm going to do.
Right.
But, in class in 13 years, I think once we're doing phase training, which is where you're going not full speed, and you don't quite hit each other, but you're doing cut to the angles and stuff and avoid. And he didn't pull his punch. The guy that's 270 didn't pull his punch enough. So he hit me, and he probably hit me with 30%.
Yeah.
But he got me right in the diaphragm. Dude, I was down.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Yep.
And he goes, you okay? And I go, yeah, just a minute. But in the street, a guy like that hitting me, like, it's over.
It's over.
And then if he wants to hit me more, what am I going to do when I'm on the street gasping for my breath?
Right.
So that's like a reminder. And here's another thing. We're always told to go slow. Like I do my forms every day, usually about 30 minutes. And we're said, just do them very slow. Don't try to hit hard. Just do everything slow, because from slowness comes speed, and from softness comes strength.
Yeah. And
people always think, oh, wow, they're all tensed up and then they blow. No, it's very relaxed.
Yeah.
And it comes from the bottom of your chi, comes from the bottom of your foot up through your hips and then through the fist. And the more relaxed you are, the more chi.
Yeah.
So it's like, and then here's another thing. It's one thing to be in a fight and then try to hit somebody. It's another thing to be in a fight and hit somebody in certain places with extreme prejudice. I don't want to get hit here.
No, you do not.
I don't want to get, your knee. I don't care how big somebody is. A knee is only a hinge. Yeah. You can squat 600 pounds, but that hinge, once it goes backwards, you're done. Yeah. On your arms, same thing. If you make that hinge go the other way.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of spots like that, right? I mean, I tell my daughter, like, if you ever get into a scrap and like you feel like you're in danger, just take your thumb and jam it to the back of that person's eyeball. I promise it's over. They're never going to want it. Even if it's slow, you just keep mashing it in.
Okay, like So I got very long. I'm 6'4". My thing is I
Yeah.
got long arms.
Long
So
arms.
I always have 90% of guys I would have the reach on.
Yeah.
And then there's three fighting zones. I can't always forget what the colors are, but I think the red zone is right up in your face.
Yeah.
Then the next one is the green zone, the yellow zone. I'm always going to be in the yellow zone. First of all, because I'm older. Second of all, I got the reach on you. I don't need to get in the red zone. I'm going to make you come to me because I got more time to react.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. I got the reach. But I'm tall and thin. Even though I'm 190, I'm a skinny person. So
Yeah.
the last place I want to go is the ground.
Yeah.
I want to get to your outside and then do damage to the knee or the side of the head, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But to your point, so I already know if somebody else fights me and they know how to fight, the first thing I would try to do with me is do what? Cut off my reach. How do you cut off my reach? Get my arms pinned in.
Yeah.
Well, then I'm going to try to give you elbows. But lastly, if you get my arms like this, you may take me to the ground and you may hurt me, but you will never see again.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm not talking about, we're not taught to scratch you.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
going to
no,
dig
it's
those in until
destroyed.
blood comes. It's nasty stuff.
Yeah.
So again, and when you know that nasty stuff, you go, please, Lord, just let me not be there.
Yeah, I don't want to be there, right? Yeah, you don't want to have.
And secondly, certainly don't want that done to me. If they get me to the ground, they're going to take my eyes.
Yeah,
it's just nasty, nasty stuff.
It's one of the techniques that they don't allow in open fighting because it's like you cannot go to the eye.
Yeah, they don't let you in open fighting hit somebody in their voice box because if you don't even have to do it hard. Boom, you're in and you're out, and it at the very least problem you're going to have is you're not going to be able to breathe for about 3 minutes. You're going to try to get, but if you hit that hard enough straight on, you kill a person. It's over.
Yeah, you can go to the neck with a very small amount of pressure, and both hands will go to that neck to protect it, and then that gives you time to escape.
Yeah,
guys who are great who don't need to fight can also put the right amount of pressure in there, not like just you're not trying to throat punch somebody, you're just trying to incapacitate them so you can create separation. Right? No, I love it. Let's get back into comedy. I saw Chappelle live at the Hollywood Bowl, and man, here's the thing. It's a shame that attack happened.
Wait, back up. So you were at the show where the guy rushed?
No. I was there on Saturday. I was there on Saturday. He got attacked on Tuesday, and it's disappointing that the attack happened because it becomes the conversation. But here's what happened on Saturday, and every night, probably that night too, was there was this lineup of just murderers, all his friends. Like Michael Shea came in, right, and just he opens up with "I miss the word retard" and had the entire Hollywood Bowls rolling.
Yeah.
And was just it was so good. Jon Stewart was there that night. I mean, just incredible. His musical guest that he had come out, and the band was an all-star band, but he had D'Angelo come out and just do this. And so here we are, we're watching, one of the greatest comedians who've ever lived in one of the greatest venues you can play. And it's packed, 17,500 people at the bowl. And you just see that and you think, God damn, this is his phone book is so strong that he can bring all these people in. Questlove had a paying gig that night. And David Chappelle called him and said, "Hey, will you come do my show at the Hollywood Bowl?" And he's like, "Let me cancel my gig. I'll be right over."
Right.
He knows what.
Yeah, because it's like, I heard this story about a month ago, and I know it's true. Rock was doing a set at a club in town, and he was working on new stuff. And then Kevin Hart was after him.
Yeah. And
they trade notes with each other. And then they were sitting there because Chappelle was going up one comedian after them. So let's stay and watch David. And they literally at the same time turned to look at each other and go, man, that guy's out of our league. That's how good Chappelle is. Rock and Hart go, we can't touch him. He's so good. He's so good.
He's so good, right?
Yeah. It's like people kind of sometimes make fun of guys on the cruise ships, but here's what's crazy. It's usually comics that can't get on the cruise ships because the cruise ships, the minimum material is 90 minutes. You have to have 2 30-minute adults and a 30-minute clean. And they really would prefer you have 2 hours. So I have not seen, I would say 19 out of 20 comedians I see on the cruise ship are all headliners, and they're all really good comics. So, but it's still like, it's kind of like being in Major League Baseball and batting 275, and then Chappelle goes up and it's like Ted Williams, you know?
Yeah.
It's just like, you just go, you feel like, so, and you're really good, but you just look at that and you just go, oh, man, it's so, it's just amazing how good. Yeah.
Can you see? I mean, look, we all can see that, and we agree. And I've got a lot of friends that are comedians, and so whenever we talk about Dave, everybody lights up. They're like, "Oh my God, he's so incredible!" You know, and like they imitate his act and everything. But what is the difference? Like Tony the Tiger would say, in fighting, like the difference between 1 and 10, there's no comparison between the top and the 10th fighter. Like they just don't compare.
Yeah.
It's whatever, speed, stamina, the condition of your skin when you get punched, whatever. There's all these things that have stacked in that person's favor, and that's why they're the apex. When you look at, because look, you're a pro, you get to go do pro shit, you get to pick your spots, you make your living doing this, right? So nothing more that a comedian can want than to have a career like you've had, right? But then there's that next level. What's the difference between your level, where you're a headliner and doing all these incredible things, and then where Dave is? What is, because he can write the same jokes, the same topics, everything else.
Yeah, but it's not, it's kind of, God, how do I explain it?
Yeah, that's what I want to know.
It's different. Okay, so it's like, okay, so I'm going to use some basketball metaphors, because I used to play basketball. You take, okay, we're going to take Steve Curry, Michael Jordan, and Larry Bird. I think that's a great, What does Steve Curry do? He's the greatest shooter that ever lived. He's literally unstoppable. And it's not that he's just, people always say he's such a great shooter. Well, it's also how fast he gets the shot off. You can be defending him well. He takes a jab step towards you and steps back. You can't get to it.
Right.
So it's not just the shooting. There's these other intangibles connected to the fact that he's a great shooter. And if you once he comes down and he fires up 2 threes in a row, well, now you're going to be standing, that defender is going to be on the front of his toes, leaning at him.
Yeah.
So now what does he do? He blows by him because he's putting his weight towards you.
Yeah.
These are all the little tiny intangibles people don't understand. Okay. So Michael Jordan, as great as he is not as good of a shooter as Steve Curry. Okay. But Michael Jordan is tenacious. He's tenacious. He had a very strong work ethic, and he would kill your mother to beat you. Okay. Now we go to Larry Bird. Not as athletic as Jordan, but at 6'9". But again, had a work ethic that was just that work ethic of that shot and getting it behind it back here and then getting it off so fast you just couldn't stop it. And once he understood the mechanics, again, you lean towards it. So different mechanics for different people. Now you take Chappelle. Okay, so let's take Rock, Chappelle, and Carlin, right? Which I would consider those guys top 5 all time. Maybe you throw in Pryor, and then you can argue about who the 5th guy would be.
Right. Yeah.
There's they're even top 10. It's like picking an all NBA or who's the best player. It's so stupid because these guys are so on top of their game, all of them. Rock and Bedridge taught me, this guy I was telling you about from England, he taught me something that a lot of people don't understand. He saw me one night, the first night he saw me, I did like 7 minutes somewhere, and I had a really good set. I come off stage, and he says to me, he goes, "That was a great set." It's kind of like watching Sinatra if he was doing comedy, because your rhythm's really good, and you know, da, 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 da. Then he says something to me. He goes, "You know who Dennis Leary is?" And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "You're a little bit like Dennis Leary." Who's funnier, you were Dennis Leary. So I immediately said, well, Dennis Leary, of course. He goes, no, you're twice as funny. And then he said something to me that I'll never forget. He said, who's more famous?
Yeah.
And I said, Dennis Leary. He goes, that's the first key. A lot of people don't understand. He goes, always remember, comedy is much like religion, politics. He said politics, religion, and show business are all the same. It's about who can raise an army and who can get people under a spell. And then I thought, under a spell, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Well, and then he says, Obama won the election over Hillary in 2008, not because he was a better candidate, but he was able to get people under a spell when he talked better than her. He had a cadence when he talks. And if you pull up any Obama speech where he's trying to talk to a lot of people and you listen to that cadence and you go, oh, so here's back to the Rock, Carlin, and Hart. Kevin Hart has the ability to go up there and just act stupid and riff. Now he's got material in there, but he has to come off of his material. He's just got all this energy and it's infectious. That's what he does well.
Yeah.
Rock is, here's the clue to Chris Rock. Somebody asked him one time, who's your favorite comedian? You know who he said? Woody Allen.
What?
Now, would you think he would say Woody Allen? No. But this is what's interesting. When you watch Rock, much like Seinfeld, he's very precise with his words. The difference between Woody and him, Rock's got jokes that are as good as Woody's, but Woody's just a set-up punchline joke guy. Rock has a beginning, middle, and an end to all of his bits. How come can't we save one piece of chicken for Dad? How come Dad doesn't get the last piece of chicken? You should say he's knocking out the electric bill. So he says something 2 or 3 times. Can't we get Daddy one piece of chicken? So he establishes that rhythm. He establishes the chicken. Then he goes along, and then there's a U-turn at the end. But it always has a beginning, middle, and end. Okay, when you do that kind of material, which he does, Ricky Gervais to a certain point does, but him and Chappelle both do beginning, middles, and ends. Well, guess what? If you do beginning, middles, and ends, it's a longer bit, but it also puts an audience under a spell because you've got a rhythm to it. And when you put them under a spell, you can do anything you want with them. You literally can stop talking, just stand there for a minute and look at them, and they won't get anxious.
Right.
Because you got them under the spell.
Yeah.
So that's a thing a lot of people miss on. And what Chappelle does really well, Rock has the cleverness of Seinfeld, talking about more, Seinfeld talks about socks being lost in the dryer, just mundane shit. Rock talks about important shit, but he has the beginning, middle, and end, and he gets you under a spell, and then he just goes and makes you kill. Bill Burr's really good at it too.
Yeah.
Bill Burr takes one subject, and then he just has beginning, middles, and ends, and then he just jams it down your throat. What Chappelle does that's genius, he does the same thing as those two, but what makes him better, his U-turns at the end are better because he's a genius. I sit here all day and try to think of a joke, and then you go, that's a good joke, but 10 other really good comics could have thought of the same joke.
Right.
I'll give you an example. When he was 17 years old, I never forget this joke. He said, I delivered pizzas in Washington, D.C. for Domino's. And Washington, D.C. has the highest murder rate in the United States. They have the most illegal guns. So he goes, I knock on the door, and then he goes, I bust in the door, pull a gun on everybody, go, okay, here's the pizza, put the money on the table, and then I'll give you the pizza. And he goes, nobody's going to get hurt. And then I'd walk out. Well, that's genius.
Yeah.
Because most people are thinking, how can I make a joke about the pizza guy getting robbed? but he reversed it.
Right.
And then he's not robbing him. He just wants the money for what he brought him for the pizza. He just doesn't want to get shot. That, to think of that at 17 years old is just, and then he doesn't have Rock. When you feel Rock, which is crazy because Rock's a little guy, but he paces the stage and he has this anger and he's like, it's almost like he's dangerous. Chappelle's like 6'4", and he always has this calmness about him. Like everything's under control. No one's going to get hurt. He's just very like a guy that just smoked a joint and handed it to you. It's just as chill. Like when you're sitting out there watching the moon at night in the gazebo and just sitting there as chill as can be. So he's got the beginning, middles, and ends.
Yeah.
Then he's extremely chill, which is a really good attribute to have when you're 6'4". He doesn't have to intimidate anybody because he's already 6'4". So he just dials it down, and then the punchlines are genius.
Yeah.
Pretty hard to beat.
Yeah. No, I mean, you think about his stuff, it might have been Sticks and Stones when he opens with, you're saying I'm punching down on your people. And then at the end, he flips it and says, "Stop punching down on my people."
Right.
Yeah, that's just one, because that's the other thing is he silos those front, middles, and ends. So he has them all tiered right across like the spectrum, and then he just at the end he's like just sewing them all up, doing all the U-turns, and
right. The fact that people come and try to rag on him, it's like, you do understand.
Uh-oh. All right. Well, I'm going to cover for Keith. He appears to be frozen. This happens at times. That's live shows for you. We'll see if Keith comes back in. Shoot. Well, I'm not sure exactly what to do here. All right. So I think that Keith's phone may be locked up or his wireless all of a sudden went bad. Who knows what happened? Good show though, right? Keith's an interesting dude. I can't wait to have him on the
Did he thought this through? There we go.
Yeah. You had said you were talking about the very end. You were kind of coming to your point. Oh, and you're pixelated now. Huh. Can you hear me?
That's just acne.
There you go. We finally got a joke in. Anyhow, man, listen, I don't want to take any more of your time. I'm desperate to get you into that comedy room as soon as we can safely do so. Because, I know you'll kill and everything else. And man, I just appreciate you coming on and supporting.
Oh, appreciate you having me, man.
Yeah, doing the show and everything. It's
interesting conversation about comedians.
Yeah, well, the thing is I know comedians and I know you guys love talking about comedy, and instead of having to perform for us, why not just get your thoughts, all that stuff on the beginning, middles, and ends.
By the way, let me say one more thing. The greatest 7 minutes I've ever seen is the last time Ricky Gervais was on the Globes. I watch it at least once a week. I just bring it up on YouTube and watch it because it's like that should be training for every single comic that wants to do comedy. Just that 7 minutes of Ricky Gervais coming out there. I mean, he obliterates Hollywood and somehow doesn't get them to turn on him. Yeah. And it's just brutal. And the jokes are just.
And he does it in their face. They're right there.
Oh my God. He's sipping the beer and then goes, "Who cares? It's the last time," and he's just, oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. And his last special, if you guys haven't seen Ricky Gervais's most recent special, good grief. It's just so good. And there's a lot of, and I'll say this confidently, there's a lot of Cosby-like stuff there, right? I mean, obviously we're talking about the comedy, the brilliance of Cosby.
Right.
You're talking about being a dad. He talks about being a middle-aged man and how when the cat gets on your stomach, you're like, what am I going to do? I can't leave. My cat's right. All of these things that are, if you're of that age, you're just like, yeah, I keep an extra cardboard box. We have a cardboard box right now on the windowsill because the cat still loves it. And the moment the cat no longer goes in the box will go away. But this is what's magic about Ricky's special. And all of you guys, what you guys do, man, I love it. All right, let me shut this thing down. Stand by for 1 second. Hey, thanks for watching the show. I really appreciate it. Right here, you can subscribe. Please do that. It makes the show grow. Hit that notification bell so you know which incredible guest is coming up next. Down below is the PayPal link. You can put a small subscription in. That is an enormous help. All that money goes right back into the show. And then right up over here
are the next episodes you should listen to, curated by yours truly. Thank you so much for watching the Break